Hey guys, I'm Susan, and today I'm going to show you how to make flower power bangles. So today we're going to be working with some aluminum wire. It's actually a nice thick wire, really colorful, but it's super malleable, and a lot of people don't know what to do with this wire. I often struggle with it, and Katie and I had it in a show the other day, and so we were playing around with this and trying to see what could we do with this colorful wire. Now, I personally only like the silver because I don't know, I'm weird. But it comes in like silver and blue and red and yellow and purple and all kinds of different really cool, fun colors, which is kind of where we got the flower thing from. But after we were working with it for a while, I finally figured out that you could make a big ring out of this and stack the layers of the wire so that it gives it some more like heft and makes it stronger. And then Katie was like, why don't you stick a pearl in the center? And I did, and we're like, oh, those look like little flowers, how cute. So when you do them in different colors, like here's a blue one here, and you stack them together, it's kind of neat. And then this is one I made a long time ago when we were first kind of figuring out how to do this. And I did it without a pearl in the center, so don't feel like you have to have a bead. But you don't have to have a pearl either. You can use any large hole bead, or you can just go beadless. Okay, so tools and supplies. You don't need a lot to do this. It's kind of like a metalworking project, so you're going to use some metal smithing tools. This is a bracelet mandrel. It is round. All right, so you're going to want a round one. This is steel. I like the steel ones because you can hammer on them. They do come in wood. I've never seen a plastic one, but these are worth their weight in gold, which would be a lot because it's really heavy. You're also going to need a basic chasing hammer. Right here, this one's got a ball peen side and then a kind of a rounded flat side. That's what I'm going to be using to hammer things. And then basic tools. I have a chain nose plier here. I don't know that I'm going to use it, but you should always have a chain nose plier around. It's just kind of a rule. And then I've got my flush cutter, which you'll need to cut the wire. This is some of that aluminum wire. I'm using blue today because I feel like it'll be easier for you guys to see. And because I've done most of mine in silver, but the blue kind of shows up against the silver a little bit better. So you'll be able to see what I'm doing. You choose whatever color you want to. And this is a little strand of large hole pearls because it takes a large hole in the pearl to get onto the wire. So that's all you need. We're ready to get started. All right, so I'm sitting here playing with my wire. You guys can see this wire is super, super malleable. I mean, it is like, look, kind of crazy malleable. So it's kind of great for those of you who are just getting started with wire work, because a lot of people, when they first start with wire, they're like, ow, this hurts my hands, or it's too hard to work with. This moves, so you guys will be able to work with it really easily, and it's very forgiving as well. All right, so I'm just going to clip off the end of these pearls, find what I'm really after this big one kind of here in the center. I never want the one right on the end. Actually, I like this one. I'm going to use that one. There we go. If you've ever watched any of my ring videos, this is just like a humongous ring. That's all this is. And so if you've made a ring before, you already know how to do this, except it's a lot bigger. So I'm just going to bring the wire or the pearl onto the wire, and I'm working right off the spool because it's hard to kind of guesstimate how much you need of this wire. And if you work off the spool, you don't have to worry about how much you need. You just cut it when you're done. Put the pearl on the wire, and you're going to need a little extra wire on the first side because you're going to want to wrap the wire around that pearl and then also finish it off. So I'm leaving myself a couple feet over here on one side. And then, working from the spool, I am going to just make a little seat for my pearl right here in the center. Now you can use that chain nose plier I was talking about earlier to do that, but like I said, it bends so easily, it's so malleable that you're going to be able to do this just like that. And then the rest of the time I'm just going to work from the spool. And don't worry if the wire gets a little bit crazy on you because you can fix that later. We are going to hammer this for strength, so it won't matter at all. So what you're going to do is use this big bracelet mandrel, just kind of like a ring mandrel. And I'm going to bring one wire around 2 times on the top, leaving myself about 1.5 feet to work with. And then I'm going to take the other side and working right from the spool. And the reason, like I said, I work from the spool is that way I don't have to do any measuring to do this. I'm going to take a wild guess that I use about 6 feet of wire to do this. And I'm going to go around 3 more times. So now I have got wire on the top and on the bottom, like so, leaving my pearl sitting right there in the center. I'm gonna pull a little bit tighter just so it gets in there. Ta-da! Pretty cool, right? So next step is to make your flower. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this wire. Now, as far as knowing how far to work down on the mandrel, bangles really, you don't use mandrels usually to size your bangles. You usually size them based on length and distance around your wrist or circumference of a wrist or hand. So to do this, it's a little bit different. I actually take a bangle that I love and I know fits me, and I put it onto this mandrel and I mark it, and that's how I know where to work. And it's kind of trial and error for you. I just know that a small bangle is 8 inches, a medium bangle is 8 1/4, a large bangle is 8 1/2. So that's what I do, is I put them on here and mark them, and then if I'm making you a small one, I pop at that mark. If I'm making a medium one, I do that one. If I'm making a large, I do that one. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna start wrapping the wire, and this is not easy to do, not looking at it, around the pearl to start your flower. What you're doing here is you're just essentially, and I usually kind of, once I get a couple of them going, I just kind of hold my finger in place to kind of keep the flower where I want it. And it doesn't matter if they overlap a little bit, just kind of make it your own and wrap it until the flower is about the size that you want. And if you don't like the way one looks, just unwrap it and rewrap it. Just like so. You just want to make sure that little pearl, let me check mine out. Oh, I like that. Make sure your little pearl's showing in the center, because that's the middle of the flower. Ta-da! Just like so. Now, next step is, let me pull this off, kind of take a look at that, make sure I like it. And like I said, since it's so malleable, you can kind of move those pieces around. Now, before you wrap and finish this off along the sides, this is when we do our hammering. The reason is, I'll show you this other one. If you finish this off and put these little wraps on the side, you won't be able to wrap up next to the flower. And so you won't get a complete kind of finished bangle, and your flower will kind of stick up kind of funny in the center, which might be kind of cute. I don't know, but I'm gonna go ahead and hammer mine now. Okay, so here we go. Just kind of get that little piece out of the way. This is gonna do a couple things. It's gonna texturize your wire, and it's gonna harden up this aluminum wire so that you can actually pull it up over or press it up over your hand, and you won't ruin the bangle every time you wear it. I'm going to flip it over because this is a graduated mandrel, and if I don't flip it, then it'll be bigger on one side than the other. And then just make sure you're going the other direction. Now, this is a colored wire. It is a plated wire, so you don't have to be gentle when you're hammering, but I wouldn't go completely crazy. And make sure you have a nice smooth hammer head right here. This is a chasing hammer, and it's a little bit curved, and it's nice and smooth on the end, so it's not marring my wire. There we go. All right, so what you're gonna do now is you're gonna take, let me get this out of the way here, take this excess wire and gather those side pieces together. It doesn't really matter if they overlap at this point. And wrap this around. I usually do 3 times. 2 or 3 times is enough. And then that's plenty, just like that. Nice and tight, so it holds it together. And then see how I'm kind of keeping my thumb over that flower? That keeps the flower from going crazy. We're not making crazy bangles, we're making flower power bangles, right? And so then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. And like I said, since this is so malleable and so easy to bend and move, this doesn't hurt my hand or my wrist, even though I broke it 4 months ago. So good wire to work with if you have dexterity problems or if you struggle to control your wire. So bring that around. One more time. Press it in. And finish that off. So I had a little extra, but I mean, I could have made my flower bigger. Okay. Now you're going to take your flush cutter. This is very important. Make sure you get a really good flush cut underneath here, and then take that chain nose plier that I wasn't sure if I was going to need, and press that little piece of wire up and in, and just feel and make sure that you don't feel that. because nobody wants to put a bangle on and feel a little sharp piece of wire on their wrist. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, trim that off, and squeeze in and press that. And when I press into my bangles, I actually press and try to press it up underneath those wraps a little bit. Just kind of press in that direction, and that way that little guy will kind of tuck in and be out of the way. And then I'm going to pop this back on here. I'm going to take a look at it very gently. I'm going to hammer that flower down a little bit. Just so it's nice and round. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, I'm sorry, I can't help it. You guys can make yours more wacky. Here we go. There we are. So that is essentially how you do it. Flower power. Oh, so I really like these. Like I said, I really like them in the silver the best, but I think it's fun to do multicolor. So make it the color you want to. This aluminum wire comes in so many different colors. You guys just make it your own. All you're gonna need is a bracelet mandrel. I know these are big, but they are totally worth it, guys. If you can ever get your hands on it, I would start with a round one like this one. They also come in oval. So cool. So there's your bracelet mandrel. You're also going to need a chasing hammer with a nice chasing side. I like the ones with the dome on them. It's a little bit more forgiving, especially if you're just getting started with metalwork. Then you're going to need a flush cutter, and I proved that I needed my chain nose plier as well. Now, as far as supplies are concerned, all I used was some of that 12 gauge aluminum wire, super malleable. I used blue today, and then a large holed freshwater pearl. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys would like to pick up some supplies like the ones I worked with today, check out the links down below. What would you do with colorful aluminum wire? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And now that you know how to make flower power bangles, you can say, I made this.